Okay, what is this? Oh yeah, oh yeah. Now I've watched mandaloregaming videos before, but this will be the first one I actually react to. So I figure if you guys want me to watch more of these afterwards, I will. But usually I just watch them like whenever. But mandaloregaming, he like reviews a lot of certain types of games. It's usually fucking entertaining as hell. But yeah, Genesis Rising: The Universal Crusade review. mandaloregaming, let's go.
Incorrect. Malagio was first.
Okay,
And Malagio was meant to be alone among all things. But Malagio was betrayed.
Betrayed?
What even is this game? I've never heard of it either.
God.
That's one of the best things about these reviews. It shows me games I've never fucking heard of.
Since the Callisto Protocol brought it up while playing, I thought of a future where humanity becomes genetic freaks. And it reminded me of a game very on track with that, Genesis Rising. And after a brief search, not only does it have no videos on YouTube covering it, but the IMDb page is also a complete shell. It did eventually come out on Steam,
really
but
unknown.
was so broken that it didn't even launch for most people. For those
Mostly
who could run
negative,
it, they'd be
oh,
treated to everything
no.
being invisible or constant crashing. This was due to several folder directories just being missing. They did make it playable eventually, but on my end, all of the ships were 100% black. It looks to be some kind of shader issue since setting that to medium fixed the ships right up. It still crashed a lot, and we'll go over all the joys of that later, but the point is, even when you could get the game in a box, it was scuffed. Now, there are tons of RTS games out there that have a similar story, but Genesis Rising is such a bizarre blend of madness that it's worth talking about. To sum the game up in a sentence,
old school
your
cutscenes
spaceships
still
are
make me
alive
laugh.
and filled with blood.
Ship destroyed. Blood feast.
But that's only the epidermis of the setting. From the credits, I learned that the game is based off an obscure, single-issue Serbian comic called Cruciform. It takes place in the far future where humanity are the galactic villains. It's only a single issue with some interesting art, but the game itself gives all the context
pretty on point,
you
really.
need. After nearly being wiped out by several alien threats, humanity bounced back and are now the rulers of the universe. Not the galaxy, the universe. All other aliens are either wiped out, enslaved, or thralls of humanity. Those survivors must also worship the human god. We're a brutal regime in the future, led by the Chair of Three, which represents the most important
would ever see
human
that
factions,
coming? Like,
the military,
wow.
the judicature, and the state
You'd
church.
never thunk
What's
it.
interesting is that the human god was once a man, who united everyone against the alien threat. He was part man and part god, and it's unclear where he came from or how exactly he did what he did. He's known as the Emperor,
Like the
Savior
concept
of
that humans
mankind.
are like the barbarians
now,
of the
you may have
universe.
heard a similar story before, but this one is delivered like an Invader Zim bit.
It's just the sad thing is I can see it happening so easily. These old school cutscenes, I can't with them.
And fearing for their very existence. Capturing.
Like, what is this? What is this?
It looks more like he got jumped after class.
As a martyr, his message was even more powerful. His death only served to strengthen humanity's resolve.
A new church also arose to guide humanity.
Then there was a new church. Again, not much elaborated on. It feels like it doesn't matter much because the intro rocks. The voice acting throws more ham at you than an exploding butcher's shop, but it's being done over what sounds like the Villeneuve Dune theme.
Humankind's foray into space began.
Oh my god, the voice acting.
For 1,000 years, our spread across the length and breadth of known space.
I love it.
So what looked like the Strogg almost wiped us out until the Savior saved us. But humanity's biggest achievement was the Organids, living spaceships that would grow, mutate, and then adapt to their environment. No other aliens had mastered these, so within a few thousand years, we just conquered most of existence. How could you stop it? I mean,
play with
these
the
are
idea
some
that humanity is
virile-looking
unique and not
ships.
like the norm
It
or
sets the
something.
stage for a
Yeah,
bizarre and
the
dark
default setting.
And that's when the first whiplash hits.
Father, don't be silly. The people celebrate the birth of the Universal Heart. I just happen to be born the same day.
Yes, I suppose you are right, but it is fun to pretend.
You play as a 5-year-old child whose haircutter hates him.
I'm just happy to be here with you, Father. I enjoy being on the bridge.
The story will skip ahead a few decades, it just so the kid, Icona, can get his own spaceship. After all, it'll grow up with him.
Father, I don't know what to say. But Isn't it illegal to own a ship at my age?
It's such a light-hearted opening which feels unbelievably strange. Come on, son, let's go harvest the life essence of the fallen.
Spotted. Wait for me. This is fun.
When you're pitching this setting, does anyone want to see this? I'll try shunting, that's a good trick. Icona and his Omni Cruiser grow up off-screen, so we don't get the more sentimental bits of H.R. Giger's Aragon. Icona is a commander now, and his hair has died out of embarrassment. He's morphed into being The Rock. In the chair of three, wants him to hunt down the universal heart, which his father went missing looking for. The heart is, supposedly, where all life comes from. And there's only a single galaxy left that people haven't checked.
Captain, we've reached the last unexplored galaxy in the universe.
On its own, that's an insane thing to hear. But this galaxy has aliens that possess organids. And that's the gist of the campaign. Wipe out your enemies, and find the heart. For now, let's talk about the graphics. To be fair, the shaders aren't at the full potential they could be since it's outright broken, though even with that, for a 2007 strategy game, it looks pretty good. A lot of it comes from how smartly they use lights and color. Like, if you zoom in all the way on a spaceship, the texture won't be that sharp, but how parts glow and how color is arranged across it is really interesting. When you're not zoomed into it and playing the game normally, the ships do have a living quality to them. You see how different flesh and metal parts reflect in the sun, lights flicker on and off. Their general design can resemble ancient sea life or twisted forms of the human body. The ships being organic isn't some kind of lore afterthought, it is front and center and gross. A space station isn't just a safe harbor, it's a pulsating flesh reservoir. You don't have to harvest the field, you harvest the station. Your collectors are basically horrible, gigantic mosquitoes, and you can physically see them getting engorged with blood when they collect it. While they're the best at powering your economy, since blood is also currency in this setting, most of your ships are able to drain blood, including in the middle of battle. By harvesting enemy corpse ships, your own vessels can slowly heal themselves.
Why is this so gross,
so when your own
weird,
ships are getting
and interesting?
Wounded, they can plug an IV into their enemy and start vampiring their health away, along with collecting any mutations they find to add into your own gene bank. There is some thinking to this, since some more destructive weapons have a higher chance of outright obliterating enemy ships, but playing it riskier means having a higher chance of getting a ship carcass, which is more literal blood, sweat, and tears for your war machine. Most weapons are genes that you use to mutate your craft. These are mutations that you physically see on the models too. You can watch new weapons grow out, or parts of the ship extend, or strange
How have I not heard of this game?
I know I said the mothership and homeworld basically gave birth to new craft.
Like, that alone would have like its
Blowing
own
up a station is killing
cult
a gigantic
online
being, ripping
talking
the shell away
about
and sending
like
your
what?
roaches in to clean up the remains. It's like watching a fight in Star Wars and a whale
This game
fall
seems
at the same
rad.
time.
I wish it wasn't a
They even
broken piece
grounded
of
it
shit.
by
Yeah,
having
it's
you
kind of a
encounter
sad
forces that
thing,
use
really.
traditional spaceships. And
When
when
it's
they go
like
up against
a
your
game that
primordial
has
sea
such
monsters,
potential and
you're
shit
clearly the
is
villain
usually
there.
just broken.
Visually, just playing the game is so excellent at making humanity an eldritch nightmare. You either die, or fall in line with the universal rulers. Though there are alien forces that are terrors in their own right, with their own cool, unique designs. Still, I think bioships are very underused in sci-fi, and Genesis Rising has some amazing designs, and others are deli-wrapped Cylon raiders. This also makes the rest of the tone way more psychotic.
Captain Icona, I think you should avoid talking to the Vicar until...
Until what?
Until you're a little more sober, sir.
Enough, soldier. Connect me to Juno.
Look, great value Captain Diomedes getting obliterated is already odd, but they went the extra mile to show he's drinking out of some kind of living conch shell. That is a creature that lives solely to sweat Everclear. This is the future Serbia wants. It probably saves money. This extends to the holograms, which are actually shape formers. So instead of culling someone, you temporarily generate a homunculus clone of them. Or something. And don't you worry, this gets one hell of a payoff later. Getting back to it, the environment looks good too, with lots of bold, striking colors. I would have liked some pitch black space to balance things out, but I guess that's how it goes in the last unexplored galaxy. When the background is more dim, I really appreciate
Watching
the
some of
weapon
them
and
videos,
ship
like,
lights
literally
and how they
just killed me.
contrast against the background. Even the box art leaned into that, which is how I noticed it at Best Buy back in the day. It promised a creepy bloodship future, and on that, it
Like,
delivered
even
in
though he's
spades.
telling me this
The
game
idea of
is
Genesis
basically
Rising and how
broken
creative it is
and a
visually
piece of
is
shit,
without a doubt
it
the
also
strongest
looks
part of the
fun.
game. The most barren
Like, it has a lot of
in-game
potential, and it
shapeformer
makes me want to play
cutscenes,
it at the same
but
time.
in comparison to their
It's
sound
so-
design,
ugh.
these look like masterpieces. I'll show you why.
This mission, the search for the heart.
I love the voice
It
acting.
is a terrible mistake.
It is no mistake, Bishop.
I see.
There are no ambient effects, no music. It's just you and the voices. Right now, it's just me and the voices. Alone. Diplomacy has never felt more confrontational and awkward.
Why did you attack us?
You will show respect. It is you who invaded our space.
It's not a bug, it's just the game. The ambient sound design is also more empty, but not going for realism, they just don't have that many effects. If it's not music, you hear weapon fire.
Too bad only successful games get remasters and stuff. Yeah, unless someone like that has the money and is also a big enough fan, buys the IP somehow and gets it done, it's not gonna happen.
With way better soundscapes and much smaller budgets. It can also drive me nuts in some
Mistake
fights
Monday,
like a
stream
child
bad
fiddling
games.
with a
Oh my
lightsaber.
Oh no, no.
Not to mention for how
Mystery
over-the-top the
Meat
setting
Mondays.
is, the actual in-game voice acting can be weirdly casual. Especially after the intro, they rarely gel with the world they're inhabiting. I thought they set a clear tone.
Honestly, that's what I would probably do, is like, if I had enough money, I would buy IPs that are just sitting there that are begging to be
I feel a
remastered.
disconnect. There are some characters that are better, but it's still very budget.
Genocide is on the way.
That's more like it. The soundtrack is the biggest audio standout. A decent amount of it is your standard RTS battle orchestra kind of sound, but like the wailing in the intro, sometimes it taps into something way more unique. As an example, here's the more traditional space game music.
I'm so excited for that.
Still great production
Gonna
value,
go to
especially
Korean
considering the rest
barbecue.
of the
Oh my
soundscape. Then you have a
god.
track like Cruciform that steps it up.
I don't think I've ever been to a Korean barbecue. Yomi, be my sugar mama and take me to a Korean barbecue. I'm jealous. Oh, your birthday falls on a Monday? Like, I knew it was like in a couple of days or so. This dramatic ass music right have. Oh my god. Game might be bad, but I want to play this right?
There's a little more emotion showing with those. The issue comes from how often you hear the generic battle theme over and over again. The composer has so much range that's just underused. The's one part where you're investigating a new
You gotta remind me in the
based
future,
on
Phoenix, when I
crystals
have,
and
you know,
ice, and the
money in the
soundtrack is
bank
just
again when I'm not
people and
running in the red.
whispering.
On the verge of bankruptcy. I gotta get you some. When I
It's like
have
they're trying to make
some
a tulpa
cash
or
again.
something. So the game can have its moments of standout music, but it's mostly... It is a letdown how they used what they had a lot of the time, but there are some gems in there. I've seen some around in a fairly popular Homeworld 2 mod, but never in a Warhammer lore video or something like that. Maybe that'll change now. Okay, let's talk about the game itself. It's Homeworld on bath salts. I guess that's not too fair since mechanically they are very different, but there's a lot of influence here. Beyond similarities in the visuals and structure and even some missions near one-to-one, you also command a persistent fleet throughout the campaign. This wasn't uncommon at the time since almost every space RTS game definitely had some Homeworld influence. The difference is the story and writing in Homeworld makes something like a persistent fleet feel like it matters, whereas here in other games you go, oh, that's convenient. Besides, Genesis Rising takes place in a 2D plane since very few games still wanted to tackle the 3D space element. There's no kind of veterancy, but the persistent fleet is neat for capturing enemy ships. So if you grab a lab ship, you can build everything that your adversary has. This still sounds better than it is because there are barely
I'm just
any
admiring
ships per
like
faction.
the designs
Besides
and
your
shit.
Omnicruiser, you can only build 3 kinds of combat ships, and not that many.
Because it
Most
has like
ships
this
don't innately have
weird,
abilities
beautiful,
either, they're
grotesque
just
look to
platforms
it.
for more mutations. So bigger ships have more health and more options determined by you. With a persistent fleet, you might think how genes and mutations work in the campaign can be harsh, but it's not at all. When you find a new gene by shunting it out of a corpse or trading for it, that gene becomes permanently unlocked in your bank.
I'm pretty
It's
sure
more like
I've
you're
never
unlocking
been to
a
one,
template
so
for it instead
it
of
would
a
have been
singular
nice.
item. But you can also find and trade for special items which are exactly that. Single-use modifications that you lose if the ship is destroyed.
So now you can
Something
eat
like a
one that's
stun
got a
ability or
pretty
nuclear
cheap
missiles.
lunch price for
As the
what you get.
campaign goes on, you can eventually find genes for the special items as well,
You know
so they're
me,
more
I
just a
love
temporary
some
help.
all-you-can-eat.
You'll also be finding upgraded genes which cost more blood to equip on your ship, but are better at what they do. Simple enough so far, but what stops you from making a min-maxing dick ship? For one, mutating a ship actually increases its max health, but it's not filled in immediately. After upgrading, the ship will need to fill up or be healed another way.
They play
This makes
nothing but
shifting in
K-pop
battle a
music
bad
videos
idea.
in there, of course.
On top of that,
Of
any
course.
active abilities like a purge or a shield or some kind of special missile will generate heat. When it overheats, it can't use abilities again until it cools down. Which means you can put a death missile on something like a station, but it'll take forever to recharge. Now on paper, and at a few points in the game, this system is really engaging. You do some easy baked gene splicing before a fight, determine what abilities work best on what ships, and with so few ships but all these mutations, it looks like there should be a lot of tactical depth to the game. Except there really isn't, and beyond that, the interface makes everything a pain in the ass to play. On the balance side, when you discover the freeze gene, which immobilizes your enemy for ages, including stations, most other active abilities go in the trash. While they look neat visually, besides the soft or hard damage aspect, I didn't feel much of a difference between most of the weapons. Short range especially can feel completely interchangeable. The late game does try to open up more tactical and utility items, especially in one mission that makes the most out of the system, having you resurrect enemy ships and moving abilities around. But at that point, your fleet is enough of a murder machine that it doesn't matter that much.
Stuff,
Hearing that, you might think the game is overly easy, but no, this can be a tough one for all the wrong reasons.
Gotcha.
You can't save any kind of gene loadout or build to quickly drag onto a ship, so every time you build a new one, you have to go into the menu and manually mutate it by click dragging. Different genes also don't have different hotkeys, it's just the same use active ability hotkey. To manually use one means clicking on the icon above the craft or on the side panel. And you never get used to where things are because where the ships and mutations are moving around all the time. It's also hard to tell from the footage, but the mouse has a ton of weird drag to it. The interface is clearly meant for a 4:3 ratio since it's stretched out, but the game itself does support widescreen. All the cutscenes are in widescreen. I'm not sure what's going on there, but the mouse lacks precision and feels clunky to use. There's other strangeness, like hold space to toggle mutations showing up in the side panels, but then they'll disappear.
Like, if you just showed me the gameplay and like some of the cutscenes and shit, I would have been interested as hell in this game.
If it's actually in your field of view.
And I've never heard of it. I'm still not over that.
Show up permanently, but that would either crash the game or make it more prone to crashing. I have no clue why that's not on by default. The interface being so clunky makes you prey to your biggest enemy, the missiles. One of the missile genes has slight lock-on, extreme range, and gets more powerful the longer it's in the air. When you launch them at enemies, they rarely hit, but when they launch them at you, you just die.
No, that was a close miss.
Destroyed.
I cannot count how many times I got own-zoned by missiles. You're notified for long-range weapons that don't matter constantly. Like, look out, a breeder's on the way. That's nothing. So you might miss someone somewhere has
Gotta
launched
watch out for them
and
breeders.
then a ship gets insta-killed at full health. These aren't super weapons either, it's just a long-range mutation you could slap on any ship. The notification could mean a light tickle or you are now instant bone jelly. You might get the notification during a fight thinking it's a short-range missile from there, but really it's from across the map and you won't be seeing it for a minute or so. This is also a good time to remind you there's no in-mission saving. You could be on a map for a half hour or more, let an important ship out of your sight for a little too long, and it gets zapped by a missile. I was living in terror of these fucking things, and even with my paranoia, I was still barely dodging them in time. Usually the missile would sail past the targeted ship and obliterate something else. And that's fine until the game crashes. I only know some things likely to cause a crash, and one is a large ship dying. There were simple missions I spent hours on purely from crashing or from getting fox-2'd by a space whale. It was getting to a point I don't often for videos where I considered scrapping it purely from how often the thing was crashing or I was getting missiled.
Oh, damn.
I was starting to remember why I hadn't finished this game all those years ago. Should I push through for the story? It's not like a good story. And then I saw The Rock make first contact with an alien race.
Nothing's happening.
What the fuck?
What?
Whoa!
What the fuck?
Interesting proportions.
No, you can't do this to me. You do that and it's like, now I have to see what happens. I'm not sure how to sum up the story. A lot of it was surprise filler, and the other parts were written like something from the Pepsi-verse. It has some interesting ideas, but the kind of ideas you'd find scrawled in feces at a bus stop.
Oh my god,
into spoilers
what the hell?
Since I really can't tell where a stopping point is in the story. There are also choices to make, and several different endings, depending on what you do in the final mission. When you receive your mission to hunt for the heart, you meet Vicar Juno, the representative of the bishop. He introduces your choice mechanic, blue balled or red balled. Obviously, the intention is that blue is the friendly, diplomatic option, and red is an aggressive response. So I try both on Infinity, the head of the judges. Most responses boil down to yes or sarcastic yes, and many Western RPGs would perfect this formula in the following years. No matter what, Infinity is very interested in you.
We are very much alike, you and I. When you return, perhaps we could spend some quality time together.
Perhaps.
But look what happens when I choose Paragon Rock here.
You deny that you are Defiance? State your designation.
I have enough trouble, I'll try to be nice to the Strogg, and we'll
No! Why would you think we are Defiance?
Red is worse than that?
Designation? Human. We're called humans.
Wait.
No, they're just assigned to the wrong button sometimes. So the
Oh,
aliens with the
no.
organic ships are the Defiants.
No, they're
a
assigned to the
confederation of
wrong
races against the
buttons.
human empire, including some that
No.
humanity thought they wiped out ages ago. This is a great idea for when you're playing as the heel. You can learn about the races humans have stomped down, and then decide how to deal with them. You'll have some options of where you can travel to first, or even go off track or backtrack. Typically, this only means getting your standard skirmish map with maybe an opportunity for new genes, but I appreciate the attempt at putting the journey more in your hands, even if it's pretty barren. Anyhow, the Defiants are also nasty in their own way. They've been oppressing the local Strogg for years, who are all too happy to join you on your genocide. There may not be many Defiants, but they are a major threat. They've invented parasitic weaponry, which can consume a living ship from the inside out, and if they get around, humanity's greatest weapons will be useless. It establishes a mystery of how they were formed and discovered the secrets of organoids. Does it have something to do with the heart? Well, that whole thread dies quietly, because while searching for the heart, the Defiants suddenly erupt into civil war. During your journey, you've seen mysterious pillars that have
the
traces
art
of
of it,
blood air,
and, like,
which is
it's-
apparently a sign of the universal heart.
And like
These
the
pillars are
universe,
lapis
it looks like
altars.
it
Half of the
sounds
Defiants think
and
that
looks
destroying them will
interesting.
anger the lapis gods and cause the apocalypse. The other half believes that not destroying them will cause the apocalypse. Tough break.
Fool! If these altars are not destroyed, the Lapis will come!
From what I've been told, they'll come if you do destroy the altars.
Preposterous! The locals think the Lapis are gods, but the truth is that they are a primitive species. Without these altars, they aren't even capable of space travel.
You learn more about the Lapis from the Cold Whites. They're a mysterious, all-female tit race that you saw in the big
All-female
cutscene.
tit race.
You could put an eye out with those things, lady.
They're called the Cold Whites because they live in
Classy.
the cold part of space.
Jesus.
And are white. They do point you in the direction of the Lapis themselves, who are rock people. They build their ships from asteroids
I'd like
and are
to see a show of
essentially
this where
thinking
Brooks
rocks.
is-
They don't communicate with outsiders, only attack them, which is why some aliens theorize that they're not sentient at all, and that just comes from the pillars. They do follow blood air, which again, means heart. At this point, Infinity and Vicar Juno arrive, and the Rock explains what's happening. He still wants to go track down the heart, but the Chair of Three demands the Defiants die, and they're defeated the next mission. This leads to a 2-year time skip, which is where you spend your time getting piss drunk with the piss juice. Mankind rules the sector,
get
and
that
instead
piss
of hunting
juice.
down the heart, you do errands like taking the aliens to mass. You get missions, shaking extraterrestrials in their bed going, "Wake up! It's time for church." You especially need some Hail Marys. You might need some too if you enter the romance with Infinity. This is a fairy tale romance.
The music, oh my god.
Now, tell her what every woman wants to hear in this moment.
Don't worry, Infinity. I won't tell anyone.
Captain! Is there something wrong with the shape form?
No, I don't think so. I was just making contact with this woman.
I see. I was just curious as to why we haven't left yet.
Legal issues. I have to take care of some details before we can leave. Red tape, you know?
I wish
What
they'd
the
just let us
fuck?
do our job.
It's like they can't decide between Warhammer 40k or Farscape. They can't decide Is he going for the fish? It's so messy, and only the more fanatical characters actually feel authentic for the setting it's showing. They package the game with epic choirs
The
and
fact that the
monstrous
kid's barely
spaceships.
touched.
Then characters get to talking, and it's half B-movie and half YouTube poop. Except not nearly
YouTube
that
poop,
fun,
oh
and
my
how
God.
some things are resolved is so unsatisfying. To wrap up the mess arc, the Lapis attack by throwing rocks, as they were lured there by the traitorous Cold Whites, which means killing the Cold White leader, and killing the Defiants again. Juno is so pleased by this that he sends you out to look for the heart again. The enigmatic cerebral race might know more.
Look! It's another Juno creature!
I know they seem trustworthy, but they give you the runaround until you just murder them for the information, which is to put the pillars in the right order. But your father appears to tell you that he found the heart and it imprisoned him, and it'll surely imprison you too. But the magic rocks already opened the portal, which will surely lead to the heart. Right?
Father? Am I dead?
No, son. I brought you here to make certain that you don't die.
You mean
what the
I'm
fuck?
In the past?
Yes.
But why?
It is easy for them to kill you now, in the past.
Who's them?
You will see.
I have been skimming over details, but I promise you, we did not need time travel. You play back in the baby Omnicruiser with your dad in the past fighting ships from the future. You win, travel back to the future, reunite with your fleet, and then defeat the giant 3 portal guardian heads, which puts you back to where things were, except you then get the only diplomacy scene with music.
Is this the future?
Actually, no. It is the past. The far distant past.
I don't understand. If we're in the past, why are you...
I have spent over 50 years in a past so distant that humans don't yet exist. Or at least they didn't, until I came here and established a new human empire of my own.
So Juno went back in time to create an even more overpowered human empire, which is the Inquisition, and he can do this because the heart controls time, and he wanted Icona dead because he thought he was a liability for no reason?
I forgive you. All of that is in the past. Or the future, actually. Time travel. It can be a bit confusing.
I wasn't oversimplifying
Time
there.
travel
The plan
shenanigans.
really is just to make the human empire even more awesomer. It's not till mid-conversation that the band wakes up.
What about the Chair of 3? I can't imagine they're too happy about your little foray into the past.
They don't know about this. And they will never find out, because they will never exist. No more meddling from fools who do not deserve the positions conveyed upon them. Come, Icona. You can be a part of this. Join me as my admiral. Lead my armies to glory. Glory for all mankind.
You cannot join him here. It's a ridiculous plan, but why not? He even offers to help get Dad back if you join him, and Icona still says no. This is the apex of how disjointed everything has been. We've been playing an evil genocidal empire,
but our
wiping out
sexy
enemies left and right
girlfriend.
all game, but they still
We
want to play
almost
you off as being
kissed.
Space McGunn's fun adventure man, who is, at best, indifferent to aliens as long as they align with his goals. He doesn't want to break the timeline and get everything he's wanted and more because Juno's the bad guy. If your character was played as a villain with ambitions for power, going up against Juno because he'll be the supreme ruler would make sense here. Everything else in the setting and the game screams that you should be evil, yet they didn't commit to it. Imagine how fun an evil space captain could be, throwing aliens at the airlock, announcing mandatory blood taxes, and dropping awful
I mean, I guess the only reason you can really say in this kind of setting and story is that he doesn't want to, because, you know,
you do escape
his
Juno
sexy
and make
girlfriend.
contact with the Lapis,
And
who point
because
you towards their leader.
Why are you attacking
he probably
me?
wouldn't want to, like,
Oh god.
Destroy
be,
them? No.
a
that hasn't
lapdog,
happened
basically,
yet. That
to
happens in
whatever
the
that
future.
dude's name was.
Past that is the boss battle with the giant rock ship that has your dad. And you meet the Lapis leader, Melagio.
This is all over the place. Like, what the fuck?
Do you see him now?
I don't see anything but a planet. Is the planet his vessel?
He is the first brother. He is Melagio. He requires no vessel.
Who said that? Melagio reveals many secrets of the universe. The most alarming one being that he is beefing on a personal level with God. Melagio was supposed to be the only life form in the universe, but then God made more life to piss him off. He and God are no longer on speaking terms, and it's not clear what caused the fight. But as revenge against all life, Melagio created the Lapis. They obliterate everything on sight because this is the Rock's big revenge against God.
Against all life? Then how come the Lapis are only found in this part of the universe?
In the beginning, this was all of the universe. But God betrayed Melagio yet again and expanded the universe.
All of existence was made purely to spite this dude. Nothing in the Old Testament comes within leagues of being this petty. Apparently, Juno has planted some kind of organid device in the heart of the universe. If you destroy it, Melagio will protect the heart and contain the lapis for all of eternity. Then Dad calls to say no, destroy Melagio's control rock, no one should control the heart of the universe. And Juno is online too, telling you to mutate his device so that you can rule the galaxy forever. Now you
when you're on call waiting and the universe is in danger?
Other two endings.
Funny. I was about to say the same thing. Then you must know what I'm thinking. You think we got too close to the heart, and Juno used that to his advantage. I'm glad we understand each other.
What the fuck?
We should use this phenomenon to our advantage. To finish what we started? Exactly. I know exactly what we should do. Me too. So do I.
It all led to this, all the crashing, all the missile murders. A crazy man arguing over what god rock to kick.
Time to rule it.
Talk about your split decisions. You know, I've been around you guys for about a minute now, and I already don't like you. Either of you. The feeling's mutual. I think I know how to handle
Hope all
this.
these clones fuck. Oh my god, Phoenix. That's the super secret ending.
Sorry, I just needed a little break.
3 of me and I still can't make a decision. I'm pretty hard to convince when I think I'm right. Me too. Maybe we should go through the portal again. See which one of us makes it through.
Jesus Christ, they fight. They all fight. And wouldn't you know it, it's one of the hardest missions because they mirror your ships, your genes, everything you have. They also appear to be teamed up against you because I never saw them fight each other. So the trick here is to completely scrap your own fleet and sell off everything. In a move of ultimate catharsis, you can give them the one-shot missile, even though it's technically still you being one-shot. Sayonara to 2 rocks in a hard place.
Wow.
Though to give the game credit, every ending does have a fully animated cutscene. If you take Melagio's deal, the Chair of 3 is irritated, but life goes on. They'll take another crack at Ultimate Ascension or whatever the plan was at another point in the future. Melagio keeps his word, and Dad is replaced in eternal prison with Juno.
You've robbed me of my place in eternity. I must take my place next to God. No!
The dramatic no. Of course. The drama.
If you do what Dad asked and wipe out the stone, Icona considers it as being returning control to God. Strangely, it's this ending where we see some lust for power brewing in him.
The heart was not ours to take. Not yet. We may rule the material side of the universe, but we have much to learn about the spiritual beings that we aspire to be.
Juno is still alive, but younger again for some reason. A lot of his Inquisition soldiers survived somehow and will be secretly breeding a new army. With all the time travel shenanigans, I have no idea how this works. These endings are each about 2 minutes long. Naturally, the one where you side with Juno to make humanity the ultimate power in the universe is the shortest one and considered the bad ending.
Welcome to the new eternity, my son. I hope it was worth it.
Well.
I don't understand. This game frustrates me to no end. Even if it was completely stable and not full of janky bugs, it's still not a game I'd recommend unless you desperately wanted to see these ships for yourself. It's clearly lifting a lot from Warhammer, but when it goes out on its own direction, it can get really fascinating at times.
It was so
brought
worth
up
it.
abruptly, but God feuding with someone causing the universe is an out there idea that you could expand on more. Hell, even scaled down, evil human empire with organic ships is an idea that rules.
Again,
but with how
it's
the
wild. I've
mutation
never heard of this
system
game,
works and how
but
clunky
also
and unbalanced it is. It's no wonder that the game didn't take off, since
like
skirmish mode
from
isn't
this
worth
video
going to, and
alone,
you're not
from what
getting
I've heard of it,
multiplayer. The thing is, when I play
it's
these
like
janky
the
Eastern European
potential
games
it
that are
had.
largely forgotten,
The potential
even when
it
the
had.
execution sucks, there are always cool ideas present. It's buggy and clunky and the tone isn't a Vitamix, but even after all these years, the image of a spaceship exploding into blood never left me. They made a future where mankind is lost, blood is fuel, and hell was made to aggravate a space rock. The Organids are still the height of bioships for me. The only
It's also wild no one else covered it because it's so bright. Yeah, like he said when he said earlier in the video, like he could not find anything.
Mechs, and the Allies made war machines by playing God with DNA.
And that's wild in this day and age. Because there's usually a video or something about everything.
Covers it for Genesis Rising. It's one of those games where someday
people love making videos about shit video games. Yeah, so that's extra wild that he couldn't find anything.
I can't deny there is cool stuff here. I tried my best to get into it, but in the end, I couldn't smell what the rock was cooking.
Oh my god.
The system is freezing. Let's find what we need and get out as soon as possible.
That's a good video.
What's a multiplayer experience I can't recreate but remember fondly? My go-to is always Battle Swarm because that game got shut down. Tremulous is a good runner-up. I think it's playable but just doesn't have players. What is my opinion? I love that name. What is my opinion on Ubisoft using AI writers? I mean, there are exceptions, but a lot of stuff from there has already felt like it was written by robots. From what I understand, for now they're using it for random background chatter, supposedly to help the writers focus on the core stuff, but it's Ubisoft. Someone up there is hoping to replace a lot more people with machines. Can I give a hint about the size 2 fish? Has no one actually caught it yet? I figured more people would have it by now. Do I plan way ahead for the adventure game videos? Some stuff is on rotation, so I don't know which comes first, but essentially yeah. It was fun seeing a lot of people notice Glug for the first time in the Druids video. Any chance for Darkest of Days? There are 3 or 4 time travel games I'd like to cover in a block, like 1 a week. So that'll take some more outlining, but Darkest of Days is one of them. That's another of those cool ideas, not great execution games.
This is fun!
I don't get it.
Oh, that was another good video from mandaloregaming. Oh god, my back. Yeah, it's wild that I've never heard or seen anything about this goddamn game. It's fucking wild to me. Cause like you said, it's like that's a thing. That's always been really a thing. Where people make videos and posts and shit about shitty games. Like it's just also maybe on that fucked up game. Yeah. I figured. I hear about a lot of those games. I've never heard it. Yeah, see again, that's so fucking wild to me. It's so fucking wild. Like, you would think this would be on like a list of shitty games that had potential. It's wild. It's wild. Genesis Rising: The Universal Crusade. Now I have the urge to actually play it. As weird as that sounds. Like, I know it'll be a shitty experience, but also it looks like it would be funny to play. Like, it's just one of those games. Play it. I'll maybe look it up later. Maybe.